Hello, I'm Linda Aiello. Welcome to another of our live weekly conversations as part of our Leading Through Change series. This is a chance for you to hear tips from business leaders who are doing their best to get through this COVID-19 pandemic. Before I turn it over to today's host, President and CEO of Salesforce International, Gavin Patterson, I want to preview the next hour. Gavin will be interviewing Mark Carney. And if you have any questions for Gavin or Mark, please submit them in the Q&A section on your screen, and we'll try to get to as many as possible later in the show. If you're watching on Twitter, please use the hashtag #LeadingThroughChange. On Facebook and LinkedIn, you can ask questions to the social stream alongside the video. We'll have a special presentation on how you can reopen your business and your community safely with the help of work.com. Finally, we'll conclude with a special performance by Leona Lewis, exclusively on Salesforce Live. So for those of you who are watching on Twitter, you're going to want to join us at salesforce.com/live to see that portion of the show. And as we do every week on Leading Through Change, we want to help those who need it most. Millions of people already rely on the United Nations World Food Program for the food they need to survive, and COVID-19 is making conditions even worse. This pandemic could double the number of people suffering from severe hunger by the end of the year. To help prevent a hunger pandemic, the World Food Program is scaling up to reach 100 million people across 86 countries with life-saving support. If you can, please go to salesforce.com/WFP and join us in ensuring the world's most vulnerable people have enough to eat during this critical time. Through July 31st, 2020, Salesforce will be matching donations up to a total of $150,000. Again, this is salesforce.com/WFP. So now to kick it off, I want to welcome Gavin Patterson. Welcome, Gavin.
Thanks, Linda. I know these are challenging times. We're in a pandemic crisis, an economic crisis, a crisis of racial injustice, and a climate crisis. And many of us are struggling to understand how to lead at this moment. These events provide businesses with a turning point, a chance to reassess their values and think about how to become a more responsible and sustainable business now and in the future. As business leaders, we must ensure that our businesses serve all our stakeholders, doing the right thing for our employees, customers, communities, and the world in general. So beyond dealing with the issues of here and now, CEOs must begin to look ahead, to see if, in a post-COVID, increasingly digital world, we can build back a better world with recovery plans that are both economically and environmentally sustainable. To support businesses as they rebuild, we built work.com, a new platform to manage all of the processes and provide guidance to help businesses around the world start to reopen safely. And we'll be sharing more of this later in the session and showing you a demo. So when the time comes to transition from crisis response to recovery, we can't rebuild the society in the same way. We need to take this moment to invest in a new, more resilient and inclusive economy, one that ensures that long-term health and wellness of citizens drives job creation and protects against future shocks like climate change. Business as usual is a thing of the past. Now is the time to act, to rethink the business of business, to make sure the economic recovery from COVID-19 creates a new normal, a world that we all want to live and work in. Now, with that recovery in mind, I'm delighted to welcome Mark Carney, Finance Advisor to the UK Prime Minister for COP26 and UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. And he's certainly someone who is at the forefront of the discussion on how to build a path to a whole economy transition for a sustainable future. So, welcome, Mark. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Gavin. Thanks very much for having me.
Now, first and foremost, how are you, and how have you been managing through the COVID-19 crisis?
Well, thank you for asking. It's been a remarkable experience for all of us, and I'm in a very privileged position. I had the advantage of many advantages. One of them was my last day as governor of the Bank of England was effectively the first day of lockdown here. And on the Sunday evening, we executed a series of transactions with the Federal Reserve and the ECB and others, which seemed like a big deal at the time. They're absolutely overwhelmed by subsequent initiatives by central banks. And I sort of handed over to my successor, Andrew Bailey, this soon-to-be smoldering ruin of of an economy. But a situation that was just to be clear, that was a conscious choice because quite rightly society had prioritized people's health. And then I came home, and I've been here ever since. Fortunate in other respects, all my children were back from school in North America, so we've all been here together. And I've been fairly engaged, but just giving gratuitous opinions as opposed to making any decisions, which is a change. But I'm enjoying it. Very
good. So the big question is, what's your view on how the pandemic will hit the global economy and the world? What's the outlook?
Well, I think so if I go back to what I just said, when it first hit, there was a big effort to basically bridge the economy and preserve as much of the productive capacity and really as many jobs and livelihoods as possible. So that's why the furlough schemes in the UK, all the big central bank initiatives and others were to preserve as much productive capacity as possible. Pretty quickly, though, we realized that the changes are much, much bigger, which is why you're having these series of conversations and you've taken initiatives at Salesforce. And I think the sense is there's both a strategic reset for business, but also a social reset that's going on in parallel. Of course, the strategic reset for business needs to be aligned for where society is going. You're more familiar than I, but even I see the acceleration of the movement from atoms to bits. We're seeing this fragmentation of global supply chains from just-in-time to just-in-case type supply chains. This emphasis on resilience. We do think that consumer narratives and the consumer attitudes are going to change a fair bit. People have either experienced unemployment in the US or have brushes with unemployment in places like the UK, Canada, Europe, and others where there is support schemes, but people can see that their jobs may not come back. And obviously access to healthcare and other anxieties are there. Those will have lasting effects. And so if you had the right strategy coming in, you're going to be a pretty unique business to still have the right strategy now. And so strategy will change, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But at the same time, and you referenced it rightly in your opening comments, we have some of the societal pressures, inequalities, injustices brought to the fore. And I think not least because the very positive response that it has been in most countries, which has been to come together, with your family, with your community, the right businesses, purposeful businesses with their stakeholders. And then you juxtapose that against inequalities that exist and people want change. And again, I think we'll come to this later, but one of those is, of course, an intergenerational inequality around climate.
And from a business perspective, how do you assess the response of business so far?
Well, I think it's varied, and I think it says a lot about the culture of business coming in. If you had a focus on your stakeholders, on your everyone, first and foremost with your employees, the best businesses, this is my experience, pivoted first and foremost to their employees and the safety of their employees, a real lesson there, but also helped and tried to work with their suppliers and their clients to help them bridge through this period, and got engaged with their community. And again, I think Linda was saying at the start, that community being global in the case of Salesforce and the World Food Program as one very important example there. So you saw businesses that did that. At the same time, there were a series of others who just hunkered down, pulled lines, drew down financial lines, and people will notice. This, I expect that those who, and I don't just suspect, I'm very confident that those were businesses who have been engaged, who remain engaged, will be rightly rewarded for that, from employee loyalty all the way through to customer loyalty, and they will also help be the change that's necessary coming out of this.
I think it's fair to say this isn't your first crisis. It's certainly your first pandemic.
Yeah.
looking back to your time as governor in Canada, what lessons can we draw from that experience, and what advice would you give business leaders and indeed governments coming out of that crisis? What did we learn?
Well, I think one of them I touched on a moment ago, which is the first thing in a crisis is to recognize that those around you need leadership, but also they're being personally affected, whether it's in a financial crisis, just the economic stress, or in the case of this crisis, of course, it's intensely personal first and foremost. Either they're concerned about their own health, or more often than not, it's someone they love, that they care about their health. And so focusing on them and their well-being, and acknowledging that you recognize the strain that they're under first and foremost. Again, then reaching out. But the next is to strike this difficult balance between acknowledging uncertainty in a crisis and having a plan. I mean, the thing that I drilled through me in the experience of the financial crisis, the Euro crisis, I won't call Brexit a crisis, but the aftermath of Brexit and the need to have some clarity is plan beats no plan. I mean, Tim Geithner's refrain, and a plan well executed, of course, beats them all. And so people look to you to have a plan. Now, I think the challenge, this crisis is very different because we do have, and it's an overused term, but I think it's relevant here, a radical uncertainty around the health outcomes. We just don't know exactly. I mean, we're learning all the time. The scientists are learning all the time, but we don't know exactly how this is going to evolve. Whereas with a financial crisis, look, in the end, there's too much debt. People got over their skis, and you have to come back in and rescue it. So I think in this situation, it's not just having a plan, but communicating. And this is the challenge for a leader like yourself, is you have to communicate that there are some assumptions in that, or some judgment calls that you're making. Now, if you're straight up with people and new information comes in, there's a second wave or some other aspect changes, then you adjust your plan and you'll get the respect. It's when you overpromise the certainty around it that you lose the trust of people working with you. People will get behind a plan without question, particularly if they understand the reasons behind it, and they won't hold it against you if the world changes or a 60-40 judgment call lands on the 40 as opposed to the 60.
I want to talk a little bit about the green recovery now. And I think you've said you can't self-isolate from climate change. I think that's a line that's attributed to you anyway. How do you see the current situation as being an opportunity to move forward collectively on the green agenda?
Well, I think it's an enormous opportunity, in part because, I mean, let's use that as an intro. What are we learning from COVID? You can't wish away systemic risks. I mean, it was a relatively low probability on any given time, but a virtual certainty, and the warnings were ampled and varied from Bill Gates to the cover of Time magazine to any scientific journal or any meeting internationally that looked at the risk landscape. You'd have cyber, you'd have climate, and you would have pandemic there, and then some other geopolitical aspect of the day. So you can't wish those away, and you have to. And the cost of preparing in advance is much, much less. The cost of preparing for this crisis is less than the GDP loss. The annual cost of preparing for this crisis is less than the GDP loss in a day, just to put it in perspective. And so climate is COVID on steroids in many respects. I mean, it is a known, it's not just a risk, it's the central scenario. You can't self-isolate from it. We're all going to be brought into it. And it's also, to flip it around, is an enormous opportunity. And so to get to the question is, how do we seize that opportunity? Part of it's through what we were talking about earlier in the shift in strategy. Everybody's looking at their strategy. Every business is looking at their strategy today, taking into account their judgments around consumers, around the acceleration of the digital transformation, those factors. Well, one of the other things they're going to need to take into account is, are they going to be part of the solution or part of the problem for the transition to net zero? And if I'm speaking, well, I think we might be both in the same country. I mean, we could be anywhere around the world, but I think we're both talking from the UK. If you're in the UK or 125 other countries, you have a objective of net zero. That's the objective of the country. So if I'm drawing up my new strategy, I think I need to think about, am I running my company off before I get to net zero, or am I going to be part of the solution? What do I need to do? The good news is there's huge opportunity associated with that transition. And once you flip it around, and once that's what society wants and companies are moving towards it, it's actually part, I firmly believe this is part of what we need, not just for climate, but for a directed medium-term economic recovery with high-quality jobs.
And what are the action steps for business leaders, Mark? What's your call to action?
Well, one of the things I'm doing now when I'm not padding around my house is to work on the sort of framework for the private financial sector. What does the private financial sector need in order to take climate change into account in various financial decisions? The first and foremost, you need information. You need the right information. So we're working on something called the TCFD, which is a disclosure standard that we will map into being a global standard between now and Glasgow. I mean, I can give you more detail on that, but that's the bottom line. Secondly, we're getting the banks ready to manage these risks. And then thirdly, it's for private capital to think about, again, climate as a source of value, or climate change as a source of value. After all, whether you're Salesforce or an airline or a large industrial, you're shifting from where you are today towards a lower carbon future. Now, are you ahead of the curve, behind the curve? What investments does it take? Part of the problem, part of the solution. And the question for the providers of capital, and we have over $140 trillion of balance sheet asking for this information now, is, well, what's your plan as a business? You're making a new strategic plan. What's your plan to achieve net zero? What are the impediments? Where are your advantages, and where do we go? With that kind of focus and that kind of consistency, that will bring, I think that will bring real change, from everything from nature-based solutions, and I know Mark Benioff has led on this, through to technological solutions around carbon capture and storage, and just to efficiencies that we all need.
Well, I'm going to open it up for questions now. I think Linda's going to take us through some that are coming through on Chatter. So over to you, Linda.
Thank you for that, Gavin. I'll bring you through a few questions that are coming in. So Mark, Satpi on chat is asking, if you were still in charge of Bank of England, what else would you recommend to the UK finance minister to help the economy recover from the impact of the current pandemic?
Well, the good news is I'm not still in charge of the. That's the first thing. The Bailey is. It's also good news for the questioner, because if I were in charge of the Bank of England, I wouldn't say what I would recommend to the finance minister, because that would sort of cross the line. But to bring it back to what Gavin and I were talking about, is one of the key things is a question that needs to be answered for citizens of the UK, in this case, stakeholders for companies, is where is the economy going? What are we prioritizing? And one of the issues, of course, I was just raising is this transition to net zero. How are we addressing climate change? And it's a bit of not just money where your mouth is on climate change, but also the kind of regulatory framework and how you fit together some of the things I was talking about on the finance side in order to show that we're going in that direction. Why is that important? It's important because the scale of investment to move to a sustainable economy in the UK, private investment, is something on the order of 50 to 60 billion a year. Now, that is a huge catalyst to building back better. It's a huge catalyst for jobs, for regional, greater regional equality, et cetera. So I think the advice I would give is high-level advice. I mean, I would give more specific, but the high-level advice is set out the direction for the economy, back it up with some spending, but also some regulatory measures that point the direction. And then the private sector will get behind you, and the financial sector as a whole is, in my view, in my experience, primed for this transition.
Excellent. Then CK on chat is asking, what are some of the lasting changes for businesses as a result of this pandemic?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. So in the short term, there is this emphasis on resilience, which will be there. the changing consumer narratives and consumer attitudes, I think, will be there. There'll be an initial bounce back. I mean, we will see some strong numbers in the short term, just because once you go down, you come back. There'll be some support added to that, probably through economic policy. But the question is, will there be lasting changes in consumer attitudes towards debt, attitudes towards savings and risk? And it depends. It depends whether this is a long, slow climb after the initial bounce back to where we were, or it's over relatively quickly. And of course, that depends on health outcomes, over which certainly I have no control, and many of us don't. And even the scientists have influence, but not total control. If this goes on longer, there's a decent chance we end up with a cohort, to use that term, of people who are akin to those who lived through very difficult economic times, and whose patterns of consumption and others were shaped throughout their lifetimes. So that's one of the big questions. I think I don't know the answer because it's partly path dependent. I do think one of the lasting changes, and I'll hand back to you, Linda, but and again, those on the call in Salesforce very familiar. I mean, the acceleration of everything digital is absolutely enormous. It is absolutely enormous, and it's only begun. And what is exciting is that one of the things that often happens with, and again, you'd know this by direct experience, with general purpose technologies that can really transform the way business operates, is it takes a while for businesses to figure out how to fully exploit them. Well, necessity is the motherhood of invention. All of a sudden, people are figuring out how to use these things. I was talking to someone this morning about the application of AI for hospital data across the UK, and just how that has been, a 10-year project has been telescoped in 2-3 months. I mean, that's pretty exciting. And so that direction, if I had to choose one, and it's pretty late in a very long answer to choose one, I should have started with that and stayed with it. I think the consumer one is important, but I don't know where exactly that's going to land. I'm much more confident on the digital.
Yeah, it's really interesting. When I'm speaking with businesses, I talk about the fact that we can't unsee what we've seen in these past 3 months. All of these preconceived notions that we've had around the ways that we can work, that we can't work, they've all just been completely blown up, and we've been a bit catapulted into the future of work, as it may be.
No, it's very good. I'll say one other thing, which is sort of slightly off, but I also heard this phrase, you can't unmeet your neighbor. And of course, one of the things that happens as a consequence of this has been much more, I mean, in certain circumstances, big cities like London, you've met a lot more of your neighbors, you've met a lot more of your community, you have that connection that you wouldn't necessarily have. So it goes both ways.
Absolutely. I have a question that actually has come in from our resident futurist, Peter Schwartz. And he has asked if scenario planning can help in dealing with COVID and climate change.
How do you get to be a resident futurist? This sounds fantastic. Looking for gainful employment. It's a good question. I think, and I'd be interested to meet Peter and have this discussion with him, because I think one of the things that we found at the Bank of England is to plan for failure. Okay. So one of the advantages, one of the lessons of the financial crisis was, don't kid yourself that the bad thing can't happen. Do what you should to try to prevent it, but also figure out what would happen. What would you do if it did happen, and how could, for example, an enormous globally connected bank, if it fails, how could it fail safely without bringing everyone else down? That was the sort of exam question. And so we've done a ton of things in order for that to be the case. Then in the run-up to Brexit and these potential cliff edge Brexit, we thought about, okay, well, who knows what's going to happen, but the only time we're going to be relevant is if it's a sudden sharp shock type Brexit. People don't expect it to happen. So let's plan for that. When you plan for failure, you've also built in resilience very often for other things that you hadn't thought were going to happen. So we're in a much stronger position. The financial system here has been, part of the solution, and people can debate about specifics, but broadly part of the solution, because it was so strong for another scenario, it could withstand this scenario. And I think part of the value of those scenario exercises is dealing with those sort of Rumsfeldian unknown unknowns, the black swans, to call them differently, the things you don't know about, you can't imagine, but you built up some resilience that will help you through it. And I think that will be a big part of business planning going forward. And it's absolutely a responsibility of governments and institutions like central banks.
Excellent. I'll get you in touch with Peter so that he can train you to be our next resident futurist.
Assistant resident.
We have another question coming from chat from Graham M. Mark, what are your views on the potential for a green recovery from challenges we find ourselves, and what would be key to make that happen?
Well, I think that the chances are good. It's not assured, of course, but the chances are good. And I'll take an example, a couple of examples from across the channel. So it's not law yet, but the European Commission proposed a European-wide budget, 750 billion euros. About a third of that relates to sustainable recovery in euro terms, but also it has a number of things on the regulatory side that could pull forward innovation around, for example, the hydrogen economy. Germany had a budget 2 weeks ago, I guess, a mini budget. Well, it wasn't that many. It was 140 billion euros, which is a big number, even in Germany. And 40% of the spend, again, was on the sustainable side. And it kind of goes back to what Gavin and I were talking about earlier, which is in both of those cases, you have the public side pointing the direction. I mean, it's real money on the table, so that has knock-on effects. But it signals, and I know this from conversations with European CEOs, it signals where the economy is going and how how seriously they should take the transition. So I think those are important building blocks of that. And I think the other element to it is what I mentioned earlier, which is making sure that finance, the financial sector, has the tools to do what it does best, which is to allocate capital to people they think are going to succeed and take it away from those they think are going to fail.
Very interesting. And then Nicholas in chat, sort of following the same themes coming here. Why do you think we're only now starting to seriously consider sustainability in our economic actions? Did this awareness require COVID-19 to come to fruition?
I think it was. I mean, it's a great question, and you got to start from where you are, and it would be great if we had taken this more seriously a decade ago. So we would be a lot further ahead. It was moving a lot, though, over the course of the last 18 months prior to COVID-19. And so the question was more, will it get knocked back by it? At this stage, I'm encouraged by the quality of CEO conversations, by the focus of governments, and candidly, the focus of finance. And I think it's been a very difficult crisis, the COVID crisis, but it does teach us all solidarity, whether it's in the community or within the country, and also across generations, and thinking, well, and we're making big efforts, across generations right now, given the incidence of the disease, where it's most difficult. Well, we also need to look forward across generations, and I think it's very difficult. I'm saying it in the negative. It's entirely natural, having done all that, to then look at climate from that perspective and say, well, clearly now is the time to address it.
And Stuart in chat is asking, and it says, first of all, thank you for the excellent session, and is asking which countries stand out for their response to COVID-19 and their climate plans.
In terms of wow, that's a charged question. The positive, he's asking it in the positive. That's good. I'll take it that way at least. I think Germany stands out in both respects. If I were to look for the double, I think in Asia at present, there's been some very impressive COVID responses, and the climate responses have not yet fully come. I think they will, but I don't know that is yet the case. And then in a number of other countries, it's still to play for. Let's put it that way. And I think we all have to remember that with COVID, I mean, we're just getting through to use the American term, we're in the early innings of this still. It's been important innings, but it's still the early innings. And so the response, we'll see how the response fully develops.
And then Mary on chat is asking, how should governments manage the second wave if it comes? Is another furlough possible fiscally?
Well, it's possible. I wouldn't want to rule it out in my spirit of not giving direct advice to the chancellor. I think the absolute imperative, though, is, and all governments in varying success, is to build capacity. It's to build health capacity, track and trace capacity, surge capacity, if you will. I mean, and a consistent understanding within the population of what is the best types of behavior to reduce risk, minimize risk. We can't eliminate risk from this. And that's the mature conversation that has to be had and is had in some jurisdictions and maybe not quite as clearly in others. Part of that consistent conversation is to say, well, we used to think this, now we know that, or we've learned new information, and wearing a mask in a certain situation, which we didn't think was important before, now we think is really important. You have to bring people along. And that social distancing as opposed to isolation element. I mean, I don't know, obviously I'm a central banker, but former, not even a futurist. But
not yet.
That sort of distancing as opposed to isolation. So isolation in extreme, but real emphasis on distancing and best practice combined with track and trace seems critical. And every day should be used to build up that capacity now in those jurisdictions where it's coming down. And the last thing I'll say, Linda, on it, which is that, sometimes in these situations, these are no regret policies. The money spent on this, the time spent on this, hey, if we get a vaccine or there's no second wave or for whatever reason, fantastic. That is it's not money wasted. If we'd spent a day's worth before, we could have saved a year's worth of GDP. That was money not spent, which was wasted.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Really incredible insights. And thank you to the audience for the great questions. So I want to thank you greatly for joining us today, Mark. And
my pleasure.
At this point, I'm going to hand it off and I'm going to introduce my colleague, Nalina Athiantha, and she's going to give us a vision on the reopening process. So Nalina, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Linda. And hello, everyone. So I have been working from this flat for a lot longer than I initially anticipated. And working from home has presented its own unique challenges for all of us. I have to get used to the fact that this room has to be my office, my yoga studio, and where I watch Netflix. But for others, it's juggling homeschooling or making sure that you are getting rid of your loud neighbors. So it's safe to say that when it's time to reopen our workplaces, we want to make sure that we're here to support at Salesforce. Because you just heard Gavin and Mr. Carney discuss the responsibility that we all have to build back a brighter future. Now, work.com allows leaders to enable fast decision-making to guide the re-entry process into the workplace and reimagine your organization in this new world. Now, for employees like me, my journey back to the office will start with a regular wellness check. Now, this is all built on Salesforce surveys, and a regular wellness check enables every employee to assess their health status and attest to their wellness easily on their mobile device from home. Now, these templates are completely customizable to adhere to any country's laws and regulations. So here we can see that the wellness check questions from organizations like the World Health Organization are here to capture the right and appropriate information so we can understand if an employee is well enough to return to work while respecting employee privacy. Now, this is very important because we want to make sure that we're adhering to every single rule and regulation from various countries. Now, once I submit my survey, we get the information updated into the command center, where an operations manager can confirm my qualifications. Now, this data is stored securely in the platform and can be leveraged by shift management to ensure that we can help schedule qualified employees. So when I'm cleared to return to the office, I get a notification from Salesforce Mobile to select when I want to come into the office. Now, this all feels real, right? So now I can see my colleagues in person very soon. Now, I can simply identify which shifts out of the available times I can come in during the week. And this provides flexibility for employees who are caring for children and family members or balancing other obligations. But it's not just my input, but it's input from all of my employees and all of my colleagues to ensure that critical coverage and projects are prioritized. So we have the right balance of various teams in the office all at once. So here we're looking at the shift management console where this all comes together. Now, the shift management console is powered by the Lightning Field Service Management and Scheduling Optimization Engine. Now, that's a bit of a mouthful, but what that means is an operations manager can view the available employees by department or function and manually schedule shifts, and then quickly optimize schedules in a few clicks using schedule optimization. So by coordinating employee shift times and scheduling them to arrive in staggered intervals, we can ensure that we're adhering to social distancing guidelines. Now, the operations manager can make manual changes and re-optimize as needed, and we can even get more granular looking at the building, the floor, and even down to the individual desk where employees are scheduling shifts. Now, here we're looking at a screen where we have fast forwarded later into the week. Now, I can see when I can arrive into the office. I can see all of my arrival windows, and I can quickly tap to confirm or edit the timelines as needed based on what works for me. Now, many of us recall the morning rush going into the office. For me, I usually had a prep coffee in one hand, a gym bag in the other, while trying to squeeze into the first lift available. But today we look at crowds a bit differently. Now, this arrival window ensures that we limit the number of people entering the building lobbies and lifts at one time so we can respect social distancing guidelines. Now, once confirmed, I get a boarding pass, like here. Now, it's summertime, and I'm a little sad that this boarding pass is not to go to Mykonos, but in this new world, leaving my room for my workplace will feel pretty close to a vacation. So let's jump into the command center. Now, the command center is actually the view that any operations executive can see to ensure that we can navigate safely going back into the office. So whether you're a global organization or only have one location, this command center can flex to your needs. So this is a reactive dashboard. So we see on the right, we have an operations feed that's providing a holistic view of steps taken during the pandemic to provide visibility across the company, allowing you to take action based on the latest steps. Now we're bringing the power of Tableau right here into the command center as well, with trusted, relevant COVID-19 data at a country, region, or local level, so you can make decisions based on both employee and public health trends and data. Now you can even see My Trailhead's trail tracker in the command center. So you can verify that all returning employees have received the appropriate training ahead of coming into the office. Because we all know that people are the most valuable resource of any company. So with work.com and My Trailhead, you can create fun, easy training modules for your employees. Whether that's guidance on new procedures that will be implemented when they return to work, or reskilling for roles and functions as we enter this next normal. Now in Trailhead, employees can see all of their assignments and learnings front and center. In this case, we see a work.com model and here's how we can get readjusted to coming back into the office. Now companies can leverage templates like this to easily adjust getting back to the office. And these are really easy to navigate. So they're really simple do-it-yourself modules where you can read through these lessons. I'm a very fast reader, so I'm going to go through this very quickly, complete the quiz. And just like that, after completing the quiz, I am prepared to return back to my office. So that was a very quick tour, but you've just seen how the work.com applications for data-driven decision-making are all coming together to ensure that we can reopen our communities, our offices, and our businesses safely. And as Gavin and Mark discussed, let's make strides to building a brighter and more sustainable future. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me here in my London home office.
Hello. Now I'd like to introduce our special guest. I'm so glad she's decided to join us on Leading Through Change today. Welcome, Leona. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How you doing?
Very well. I'm so happy you're joining us today from Los Angeles, I understand.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be performing.
So, what's your message to the world right now during this time of uncertainty?
There is so much uncertainty, and I think that things feel quite heavy right now. And I guess my message would be that we all need to kind of show a little bit more kindness for different people's experiences, for what people are going through right now. And I heard this really great analogy the other day. I was talking to someone and she said, oh, we keep hearing we're all in the same boat, we're all in the same boat, but we're not in the same boat. We're in the same storm, but our boats are very different. Some people are shipwrecked right now. Some people's boats are sailing fine. Some people are a bit wobbly. And I feel like it really resonated with me because I know people that have been devastatingly affected by this, people that have lost their jobs, businesses that are not doing well, and then know people that are doing even better through this, businesses that have seen a lot of success because their services are really needed right now. So it's the same storm, but we have to be so aware that people are going through different things, and we have to show kindness, just show people kindness, because you never know what people are experiencing, especially at this moment.
So true. And how have you been using your own platform for good?
Well, for me, it's all about highlighting causes that are close to my heart. So whether it's the movement that's the amazing Black Lives Matter movement right now, or it's the Hope-Filled Animal Sanctuary that I support in Essex with 500 animals that we've rescued, NSPCC that help children. I try and use my voice and kind of shine a light on causes that need that kind of platform in order to have people become aware about them. So I like to just use my platform. I know I have a reach on my social media, so I try and highlight causes that are close to me and that are affecting my community and also locally and globally, you know. So that's how I kind of put that out into the world.
And how are you finding balance and peace of mind at the moment?
Because it's such a crazy time. I really find balance in, I'm cooking a lot right now, trying to eat healthy, trying to meditate and just stay focused and grounded. My dogs basically help me every single day. I've got 2 little dogs and a big dog, and I try and take them out for walks and just spend a lot of time in nature. And I just feel like they really help me get through this time right now. If I need a cuddle, I'm just like, grab my dog and cuddle my dog. And that always just makes me feel so much better. But also being aware of what I'm taking in on social media as well, and news outlets, media outlets, to make sure that I'm choosing my sources wisely, because a lot of media can be a lot of fear-mongering. So I like to tune into things like the Happy Broadcast, and kind of get the positive, good things, the good bits of news, you know, that are out there, because it can seem like there's a lot of doom and gloom, but there's also great things going on right now too, and we should also highlight that.
And you're known for using your voice to speak up on important causes. Mm-hmm. Why do you see that as so important?
Again, for me, I understand the reach that I have, and if I can use my voice to shed some light on issues that are maybe not getting the awareness that they need, I think it's just something that's so important for all of us, especially as artists. You know, our life and our work is so intrinsically mixed and mingled. So our experiences in life affect our music, and I feel like I'm quite a sensitive person, so I want to talk about issues that affect me and that are affecting other people that I see around me. But not only, of course, is it important for me to speak out, but on whatever platform people have, you know, you can make a change, you can make a difference, and you should use your voice your opinions on things that are concerning you or issues that are affecting you. I just encourage everyone to do that, no matter what your platform is.
Yeah, I know you're going to play some songs for us now, but Just before you do that, Steve Mack says hi.
Oh, I love Steve Mack. Hi, Steve.
So over to you, Leona.
Thank you. I'm just going to go back here. Get my musicians in. So I'm going to sing a few songs, and I've got my amazing musicians with me. My guitarist Alex.
Hello.
And then I have my two amazing backing vocalists here with me as well. You can't see them, they're off camera. We're being good, we're social distancing, being very aware of what's going on right now. But I wanted to sing this first song because it's a song I wrote, maybe like 7 years or more now. And I wrote it at the time I was feeling like I needed to write something that would inspire me to kind of make a movement, make a change, and find my own happiness. So I kind of had that in mind when I co-wrote this song. So I wanted to share it with you guys. It's called Happy. I think it's something we need right now. The happiness. And the thing about happiness is that sometimes it's difficult to get there and challenging to find the path as to what that is. But I feel like when you actually find it, going through the rough times or the challenging times makes that happiness or that joy or that inner peace so much more enriched. And if you don't know sadness, you can't know happiness. So that's what this song is about.
Someone once told me that you have to choose what you win or lose. Can't have everything, and don't you take chances, you might feel the pain. Don't you love in vain, 'cause love won't set you free. I could stand by the side and watch this life pass me by. So unhappy, but safe as could be. So what if it hurts me? So what if I break down? So what if this world just throws me off the edge? My feet run out of ground, I gotta find my place. I wanna hear myself, don't care about all the pain in front of me. I'm just trying to be happy. Yes. Holding on tightly, trying to let it go, trying to play my role, slowly disappear. And all these days they feel like they're the same, just different faces, different names, get me out of here. I can't stand by the side. Oh no, watch this life pass me by, pass me by. So what if it hurts me? So what if I break down? So what if this world just throws me off the edge? My feet run out of ground, I gotta find my place. I wanna hear my victim. Don't say anything. So what if it hurts me? If I break down? If this world just throws me on? My feet run out of ground. I gotta find my place. I wanna hear you say, don't care about all the pain in front of me. I'm just trying to be happy. Happy. Oh. I just wanna be happy. Happy.
So before I sing the next song, I just wanted to thank Salesforce for putting this event on, because I don't know about you out there, but every time I hear music or tune into something where people incorporate music and performance, it just really lifts me and elevates me. And also, we get to play and, you know, be together. And this is the first time that we're together since our last gig before COVID happened. So we're really grateful to be here and that you guys are doing this and that we still get to share our music and be with you guys. So thank you. And this next song I wanted to sing, you might know it, so sing it with me if you do. I always love performing this one because it's my second single. The first single in the UK was Moment Like This. And then I released this song globally. And it's one that's just so special to me and I love performing it. And we've done like a little stripped down version for you guys today, so I hope you enjoy.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain. Once or twice was enough, and it was all in vain. Time starts to pass before you know it, you're frozen. But something happened for the very first time with you. My heart melted to the ground, found something true. Everyone's looking around, thinking I'm going crazy. But I don't care what they say, I'm in love with you. They try to pull me away, but they don't know the truth. My heart's crippled by the vein that I keep on closing. You cut me open and I keep bleeding. Keep bleeding, love. I keep bleeding, I keep bleeding, love. Keep bleeding, love. You cut me open. Trying hard not to hear. They talk so loud. Piercing sounds fill my ears and fill me with doubt. Yet I know that the goal is to keep me from falling. But nothing's greater than the risk that comes with your embrace. In this world alone, then just to see your face. Everyone around me thinks I'm going crazy, baby. Oh, and I don't care what they say. I'm in love with you. But they don't know. My
I need to keep speaking into this mic. I keep forgetting we've got a room mic and then this mic. How you feeling, girls?
Good, really great. You sound great.
Thanks. Is it shaker time?
Oh, wait, sure.
For like multitasking, because there's like 3 of us. We're trying to like make up a whole band, so we've got like shakers. I've got my tambourine, but today I'm gonna not do the tambourine because my coordination right now is crazy, because it's been a while. Okay, so this next song I wrote, and it's called Thunder, and I wrote it at a time when kind of was going through a bit of hard times, like kind of personally, some rough stuff in a relationship, and it was just so hard, and I was so upset, and I wanted to write a song that kind of lifted me out of that, and a song that kind of reaffirmed that I'm not that relationship or that experience, that I'm something different in every moment and every second. I can rebuild myself and find my strength, and I wanted something that would empower me every time I got on stage and sang it, and then hopefully through giving that power to myself, I could give that to other people. So I always love performing this in my set. It's called Thunder. And I also wanted to say, I love that Salesforce today are donating to the World Food Programme. And if you can donate, go to salesforce.com/WFP. I think that's an amazing thing, and amazing to raise awareness about that cause, because it's so important that we share the love and share the light. Be kind to each other and help wherever we can. First it was heaven, everything roses and fire. You and I were golden. Now it's Armageddon, and I woke up like a fighter, building up a legion. You were rising like a star, reigning like a king, while I was waiting in the wings. But I won't wait any longer. When you let me down, I got stronger. If you wonder about the lightning out on the horizon, I'm coming back with the thunder. Ooh, with the thunder. Ooh, with the thunder. I'm coming back with the thunder. Ooh, with the thunder. Ooh, with the thunder. I'm coming back with the thunder, yeah. Scared that you would miss out, scared that I would shine without you, so you held me down, yes you did. But this voice was getting loud, and it just wouldn't give in, 'cause I was made to say, oh, and I won't wait any longer. No. When you let me down, I got stronger, yeah. If you wonder about the lightning out on the horizon, I'm coming back with the thunder. Ooh, with the thunder. Ooh, with the thunder. I'm coming back with
guys, so now we want to kind of do a little cover for you. And I love this song so much. Actually, I'm going to stand up because I love it so much. Hey. It always kind of lifts my spirit when I sing this song. Because when I sing it, I always see everyone's reaction. And because they all know it, they get so happy. And it's a bit gloomy out today. I don't know where you are, but where I am, it's a little bit gloomy. So I want to bring the sunshine and the brightness and the happiness. Because things are very dark right now, and a lot of people feel the heaviness of what's going on. And we need to counteract that. We need to balance it out. So we're going to balance it out right now with all you guys connecting to you. This is amazing that we can all connect to each other this way. This is incredible. Technology is incredible. We can't underestimate that. It's a blessing because it allows us to perform for you and sing with you and be with you. So sing this one with us if you know it. Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me, no matter where you are, no matter how far. Don't worry, baby. Just call my name, I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry, 'cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Remember the day I set you free, I told you you can always count on me, darling. From that day on, I made a vow, I'll be there when you want me, some way, somehow. You know that there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. No way, no way. Oh, our winter's cold can't stop me, baby. 'Cause you are, if you're ever in trouble, I'll be there on the double. Just send for me, oh baby. My love is alive, way down in my heart. Although we are miles apart, if you ever need a helping hand, I'll be there on the double, just as fast as I can. You know that there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from you. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from you. Ain't no valley, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river, yeah, to keep me from getting to you, babe. To keep me from getting to you, babe. To keep me from getting to you, babe. Ain't no mountain high enough. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you guys. Mwah.
Thank you, Leona. That was truly fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
Gavin.
really,
It
really
was
appreciate
so
it.
fun. I'm in a good mood now. Hey.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, you too.
Linda, back to you to close the show.
Thanks, Gavin. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. You can find more of our Leading Through Change stories at salesforce.com/blog. And before we wrap up, just one more reminder, as Leona so kindly said as well, in making sure millions of people worldwide do not go hungry during this crisis. So if you can, please go to salesforce.com/WFP and join us in helping this organization So through July 31st, just as a reminder, Salesforce will be matching donations up to a total of 150,000 USD. And again, that's salesforce.com/WFP. So we'll be back with a new show next Tuesday. And until then, please take care of yourself and each other. Thank you.